Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45Trading.com. This week we're going to be discussing April 27th to Friday, May 1st. So say goodbye to April. We are already moving along. First quarter's done, second quarter is well on its way, and the markets have been pretty stagnant. You can see on my chart here for the month of April so far, we've been pretty well sideways for most of the month on the US dollar, chopping from this low to this high here. We've got some interesting stuff on the horizon here, I believe, for the dollar. So let's get into this here right away. Real quick here, just make sure you guys are aware of what's coming up on the economic news front here. If you are a yen trader, keep in mind there is the monetary policy statement. I'm not too sure if this video recording will get to you before the statement is released, as it is about 20 after 11 now. Sorry, just a little bit before that. 20 to 11 New York time. So it's a little bit later in the day on this release, but just be advised if you are a yen trader that this is on the horizon. And then really nothing on Monday that's going on. And then Tuesday we're getting into it here with CB consumer confidence for the dollar, high impact at 10 a.m. New York time. Yen bank holiday, and then we've got Australian dollar trimmed mean. So high impact news event for the dollar and for the Australian dollar to watch out for. Nothing too serious on those 2 days, but when we get into Wednesday it changes a bit. So we've obviously got advanced GDP numbers for the US dollar, and then we've got an FOMC statement and a Fed fund rate coming out as well too. So and then we have a late in the day press conference. So these two events here, again, later in the day, so we'll see probably a regular day, probably a muted day in terms of range-wise, unless they really want to start kicking things up. But we'll probably see the fireworks right around the afternoon on Wednesday. Keep in mind as well, too, it'll probably be an extended session, so the usual ranges will probably end usually early morning New York time. Mid-morning New York time. We'll probably see extended ranges on that day as well. So, and then going into Thursday, we've got a lot of Euro news, including a monetary policy statement. So again, keep in mind, high impact news event for the Euro on Thursday. So just watch out for that. Pardon me. And then going in, we got some GDP news for the Canadian dollar, and a press statement for the euro again, and a US dollar unemployment claim. So take a look at these claims here this week. We've got 3.5 million that are being forecasted from last week's recording of 4.4 million. We'll see what happens here. It was actually a higher number last week than what was anticipated, so we'll see if this week follows suit as well. And then we've got a European holiday on Friday at the end of the week. So that is the week. It's going to be a pretty high impact news week. So make sure you're watching, and keep in mind yen monetary policy on Sunday, and some high impact news events throughout, mainly on Wednesday for the US dollar. Okay, let's get into this. So we're in a range here, obviously, as I mentioned. Hit the lows, hit the highs up here. All the stops have been run on both sides of the markets, and we're pretty much sitting neutral. I believe they're building up their positions in here right now. So all the major banks and central banks and all the big traders and everyone are just sort of accumulating their overall position to move this market higher or lower. So keep that in mind. I think we're going to see a big move coming up here very soon. I think we're going to be out of this range probably by this week, if not into next week. Again, next week we do have NFP numbers coming out, so watch for that as well too. I'll give you a heads up on that one, obviously, next weekend. But I think we're probably going to start to see an end to this consolidation here going into this week. So we're already heavy out of the gate at the time of this recording. It's Sunday evening, market open, and so we're already seeing price selling off on the dollar. I think there's a very good chance we're going to take price underneath all of this range in here. So last week was a really muted range. Just price didn't really go anywhere, just kind of slowly chopped higher. And of course we left a couple of equal highs up here. Of course we left that, so everybody you know, is thinking, well, this is resistance up in here. They're not going to take the market any higher than that, and everybody right now is dogpiling on shorts right now. I believe the market's going to go down. I don't believe we're going to get below this low here. We could get below this low here, but I think the likelihood is fairly small. I believe for sure this one, they could take this one down, and I wouldn't expect them to continue down lower than this low here. I want to see sort of how the week is shaping up, but I definitely believe we're going to take out all of these lows. We got 2 equal lows here and a couple lows here. I think we're going to rebalance underneath here. We do have a little bit of one-sided price direction in this location here. So I think there's a good chance that price is going to get pulled down here and sweep the stops out from all of last week, basically run all the liquidity from everybody who was getting long up in here, hoping price was going to go higher. They're going to come back down and clean all that up. Now, what do we do back down in this area here? Again, is what I'm waiting to see. We do have FOMC on Wednesday, so again, I think we'll probably see them fall off Monday, Tuesday, and then into Wednesday. If we're down in this range here, I would expect probably a reversal. If price fails to get below this candle here, my anticipation is that they're going to bounce it, and then we're going to run higher, and then we'll start running out these equal highs up here, which was what I had marked on the chart. So ultimately, I believe, again, Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday down, we'll sweep all the lows from last week, and then I believe we're going to probably see this. But I want to wait and see where we are come Wednesday on that FOMC. If we haven't swept these lows yet, and it hasn't been, and we're into Wednesday, then the chances are they'll probably just keep running lower, and we could see price eclipse this low here. But if we're into this area and we're kind of just waiting for that FOMC, then and it hasn't gone into this candle here, then I believe we're probably going to pop higher. Okay. And I think we're probably going to be above 100 by the end of the week if we get that move. And I don't believe this low here is as likely. I believe they're going to send it higher, and they're just going to take everybody offside, everyone thinking it's going to go short, so everyone dogpiles on shorts for them to come down into here, and then they'll probably rip the market higher right away, and by the end of the week, we could be finished higher up into here. If they decide to move it. Now, it wouldn't take very much if you look at the previous month, the ranges that were put in, they could do all of this in the matter of one day if they really wanted to, but I think they're probably going to more than likely let it play out over the week. So that's what I'm anticipating. We'll see what happens when price gets down to here and what time of the week it is, and then we'll go from there. Okay, EurUsd. Obviously, the exact opposite of what I'm looking for. Now, EurUsd, if you'll notice, we had a bit of a difference. So we had price take out the previous high here. Excuse me, we failed to see the US dollar take out the previous high here, whereas EurUsd, it took out that previous high. So they already went down and swung below here, taking everybody offside who was going along on this run up here. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we came up and ran all the way up and possibly ran this previous swing high here. And this comes in, I believe, on the 15th and 16th of April. Again, that would correspond with a sweep below here. And let me just get the days. So the 14th and 15th right down in here. Same highs up into here. So we're going to see price move higher on Euro, and let me just drop down here a little bit lower. You can see all of last week, very, very tight ranges on EurUsd, even more so than what the dollar was doing, and really ugly as well too. Last week was definitely a difficult week to trade, and I didn't actually trade any Euro myself at all, just because this is not conducive to great trading ranges. But I certainly am looking at this area here. So again, I want to see price run above here, and I want to see what the willingness is to get up into, again, the highs from the 14th and 15th of month. Excuse me, I said the 15th and 16th. I meant the 14th and 15th. You can see right in here. I want to see how willing they are to get up in there, or if they do a failure swing. So my eye is right here. They may only take it above these highs in here and possibly these highs. I better mark that on the chart now as well too. We've definitely got some areas where price could get pulled up right in there. So I'm going to put that on the chart. So keep your eyes here and here, and then again, what day of the week it is. If they haven't got above this high for FOMC yet, watch that. They could shoot it up and then run it back down. And if we're still stuck in around this range in here, then that may be it, and price may fall over. But I believe going forward again that the dollar will take out these highs here, and that would obviously mean a lower run on euro, which means we could be seeing this low here get run out. They're already willing to take price lower in here, so that doesn't bode too well for the strength of euro, and I think there's a real good chance that they're going to want to take it. But if you look at the 4 hour, definitely these levels in here I think are going to be the target, but how long it takes them to get up into here, judging on this previous week that we just saw, it could take a couple of days for them to do that, and then I'd hope they would be looking to roll price over, and we're going to see lower lows. So that's what I'm anticipating. If we get above this high here, though, I'm going to be looking up into here, and then more than likely they may just want to continue it higher. So we'll have to look at and see when that comes, if it comes available, but just watch this high here, okay? GbpUsd, again, similar consolidation. Price is very, very choppy. I was hoping that we were only going to see a run back down to this area in here, where all of these candle body highs were. You can see that unfortunately did not pan out. We had a big down day. I believe this was Tuesday's candle, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just a very, very weak sort of slow staggered response to that big down move. So anyway, going forward, we still have these highs up in here that I really like. I would really like for this to get run out. Now again, if we do see a dip lower here on the dollar, that could be enough to push cable higher. I am looking for them to come up above this high still, so we'll have to see. But again, price is pretty bearish in here. We certainly rebalanced at an area down here where it was very thinly traded, and I believe they were looking for them to rebalance down there now that we see it, obviously. But I think going forward, we've got a couple other lows down here that I think they want to grab. So if we do see that run higher on US dollar, and we've either come up and run into this or failed to get above this high, I'm going to be targeting underneath this area. So that's why I have it shaded on the chart here. I think this could be where they're going to be taking it. Where they get from there, I don't know yet. We'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But I think for now, I'm going to hold off on my anticipation that they're going to be running all the way up into here just yet, until the dollar wants to make its move. The dollar's been acting very strange, and I believe it is doing this because it wants to push this thing higher. The US Fed is pumping a lot of money into the economy. Obviously quantitative easing like every other country around the globe, and they're doing it all with US dollars, and I believe that that's going to create a bullish scenario for the dollar. It may not be it may be short-lived, but I think for at least the next month or two, or 3 or 4, I think we're going to see higher prices on the dollar. We'll have to see what happens when we get into the fall months. But again, like I said before, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. EurGbp, it's not giving me a lot of help into here. It's just kind of stagnating sideways here. Really, really hesitant going lower. Got a couple equal highs up into here. I was hoping they were going to run above this area last week, and we didn't get that, and we saw price come all the way back down. If price would have got above there, I would have been very, very bullish on your GbpUsd and very bearish on this pair here. I'm looking ultimately for a run below this low here. But we'll see what they want to do here. We could just be locked in a sideways price channel here for a little bit on this pair. And if you go out and you look, you can definitely see where price currently is and go all the way back. And this is a long ways back. Look how much time price spent in this area in here. We could be seeing a setup of something very similar to that. Especially if the euro and cable start running in the same tandem direction, they will consolidate this pair. This market here. So no help here yet, but I am going to label obviously the highs here. I'm going to keep that on the chart, and now we've obviously got some major levels lower in here. I can get rid of this level. That was from last week. Don't need that. But we've got some lower levels down here, and you can see price coming in and banging right in bang, 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 right on the highs of these candles in here. So definitely some serious support in that area. So I'd be looking for prices to eventually trend higher, but we'll have to see how the price shapes up on Euro GBP. What they could do, if they decide to take GBP higher and run it up into here, which I think they're going to do, we could see a quick drop lower to run these lows out here. But I think ultimately they are going to have to come back up and clean these areas out here. So it's just a matter of sooner or later. Hopefully it'll be sooner. USCAD, very ugly right now. Again, price ran up real nice and then consolidated, dropped a little bit, consolidated. Again, this is tied in with crude oil. So as crude oil continues to see weakness, we're going to see Canadian dollar run higher, especially if US dollar is running higher as well too. It will push this up. We've obviously got a couple of highs in here that I believe are going to be run through this week, and we've got a couple of lows. Now they did just right in here run below those lows there. Now I'd like to, I'm curious as to what your chart looks like. Mine's a little bit different. I have a couple of obviously comparing brokers that I use to accurately display price, make sure I'm getting the correct feed. This area in here is a little bit in question, and this run lower. So just have a look on your feeds as well too and see what you're getting. Mine, it looks like it ran that out here, but I've got other feeds that are showing it didn't get run out. So this week here especially, if we do get a bit of a decline in the dollar, we could see price run through here. So just because it ran this low here, normally I'd say, yeah, not a problem, ran the low, it shouldn't want to come back. But then look at how price responded after it took this low here. Very, very slow and lethargic to get any higher. And now we're seeing price fall off. So it kind of makes me feel like this thing is going to dip one more time lower and get into this range here. But from there, I believe we'll probably start to see some explosive moves higher. And we're probably going to see higher prices on Canadian dollar. Again, taking out these highs, there it goes, taking out these highs in here on the week, I think is going to be an easy thing for them to do. So that's what I'm going to be watching for the setup on USCAD. Australian dollar, very, very bullish. Nice to see this pair going up quite nicely. However, if the US dollar is starting to cap its lower run and does want to move higher, I believe there's a very good chance that Aussie is going to fall lower, and so I think we're going to have a hard time getting above here, to be quite honest with you. So I'm going to hold off my thoughts on Aussie right now because it's not exactly correlated with any of the other pairs, and I don't see anything on here that really jumps off the screen. I mean, I think there's better opportunities in Euro, Cable, or USCAD, so I'm going to focus on those pairs, and I'm going to wait to see how this week pans out as well too. Some high impact news events for the Aussie this week as well too, and then we'll have a look at this after FOMC this week, and we'll see where we're at. Finally, crude oil, I believe, is not going to be making any highs anytime soon. We're probably going to see crude oil sit sideways in here for the next little while. There's just too much supply on the market right now, too many full tanks, and there's actually, I just saw a video actually pretty impressive. I mean, there's literally dozens and dozens and dozens of fully loaded crude oil tankers just floating off the coast of California with nowhere to go. They dropped anchor and they're just sitting there waiting. They're probably going to be out at port there for, anchored just off of port there for probably the next few months. So as the world starts to get kick-started again after all the closures of all the countries, it's going to be a slow thing. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Manufacturing will kick in again. Demand will kick in. We'll start to go through this glut of supply of oil that's currently sitting on the market, and eventually we'll start to see the price of crude oil rise. But until then, we're not going to see price. I would highly doubt we're going to get back into the 20s. I would venture to say that this area up in here probably won't get traded back into until, probably summer, maybe into the fall. So I really believe we're probably going to see continued suppression on crude oil. So, and then finally, gold. Gold has been on a great little tear. higher. We saw price on a big run. If you guys didn't get into gold the past couple of weeks, there is still an opportunity, I believe. I think we're going to see much higher prices, probably up to 1,800. I mean, we could be up to 2,000. I don't know by the end of the year, but I know there's a lot of instability out there in the world economies. And, you know, right now, you know, nothing's a sure thing, but I believe gold has always been a safe haven. And I think a lot of investors are going to start getting out of the equity markets and start placing their money into gold. And I think we're just starting to see the beginning footprints of that, you know, transition from equities into gold. And I think this is going to be the first wave higher of a series of much higher waves to come on gold. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to give my members a lot more information on this. I was looking for gold to come down in here last week. We didn't quite get down there. There is a good chance we could keep coming down, especially if the US dollar starts to go lower. Gold could come down a little bit. But I'm looking at this area mainly. But I'll talk about this a little bit more next weekend for you guys. We'll see how it shapes up this week. It's going to be a pretty eventful week on the markets. Again, FOMC, lots of high on Wednesday, lots of high impact news events. And we're already seeing dollars start to sell off. So we'll see how this pans out. And I hope you guys have a great week of trading. Let's crush these markets. Still lots of time left in the month. Don't get too crazy though. Again, it's going to be a pretty high impact news events this week. So, you know, be a little bit reserved. Maybe dial back your normal leverage. And we're going to get back to regular trending markets. We're still in this range, so until we get out of this range, I think you better to be safe than sorry. And maybe just do some practice this week as well too. But anyway, until I get back to you guys next week, thank you very much for watching. And if you remember, we will see you back in the chat rooms tomorrow. Thanks for watching, folks.